Alright, welcome back to another NovNov project. Here we got our Kali Linux virtual machine. I'm just going to go ahead and get in there and we're going to take a look at some Linux basics. Audio sounds a little weird today. I'm getting OBS set up. I finally bit the bullet, stopped using the cheapest way to do a recording and set up an actual screen, which is why you guys can see the things you do. Again, NovNov's all about building over time, so maybe one day this will actually look good. But today we are going to go back to some of our basics that we've been talking about. I know I've done a little bit of scripting and a little bit of Linux basics as we're going, but I figured I'd do just one more quick take on how to actually do and apply that information. So previously we've done things like script our scan last time, and we've played with basic scanning in a previous video, but what about just like using commands a little bit better? So the two things that I mentioned quite frequently are command chaining and command substitution. So we're going to take a look at those. Right, so here we are in our Kali Linux virtual machine. Excuse me. And let's go ahead and open up our terminal. And I talk about these a lot regardless of what language you use, whether it is an actual programming language or PowerShell or Python or Bash, shell scripting, whatever you're doing. Command chaining is just that simple: cat etc passwd pipe grep root. Right, so we're doing a command, cat, this is where Linux stores user information, space pipe grep root. So it greps just the root, uses regular expression or strings to search. So it only returns the lines that have that thing. But you'll see we got this extra one here, which has root in there. Right, so that is chaining. You do one thing, you add it to another. Then we've got command substitution, which would be the ability to grab specific information and then put it into the thing that you're looking for. So as an example, what if I get just the IP address? So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to use IP space A. First I'm going to chain it together so that it works. I'm going to grep, I know I'm using DHCP, so I'm going to grep dynamic. So that returns both of these lines. I don't want that, so let's go eth0. Let's call our adapter specifically. Now I've got my eth0 line and I've got my eth line. So, right, so this can take a little bit of time to get it correct. Let's go ahead and just build into that. That's not how that works. Right, so if I pull my inets, it gives me all of them. So there's a little bit of fun you gotta do in here to pick out exactly what you want. So what if I do something like IPA grep eth0 tail number 1. That'll just give me the one that I want in this case. And you could be saying, why not just write it down? This is something, just a practice or a way to get a little bit better. And then we can awk, thing we did yesterday, right? Print $2 to give us that second column. And then cut field 1 with the delimiter of a /, just our IP address, and all of that just so that we can ping it, right? So let's go ahead and see if I can substitute 10.0.2.15 into that ping. Bad pattern, I forgot which one I need to use. Is it this one in Linux? Parse error. There we go. So, but I didn't do the count 4, so it's going to go forever. Ping, space, $, and then in parentheticals what you want to do, right? So in this case, I can go ahead and ping my IP address just as a practice. What if we take that a step further? What if I go ahead and look up the man pages for IP? There's a way in here to get your networking information. So IPA or IP adder is a shortened one. But there is more syntax. So IPA is what we had been using, which is the shortened version of IP address. I don't want the foo. Don't want the identifiers. I don't care about LTTP. Link, maybe? We could take a look at that, see if that helps. Neighbor will be our ARP cache. NetNS, namespaces. Routing table, that could help us find our router. Okay, so I'm going to take a look at those too. So I'm going to take a look at neighbor, or sorry, no, NetNS, and I'm going to take a look at route really quick. See the difference between them. So if we do IP NetNS, I don't got anything. IP neighbor. Okay, so I've got some neighbors on IPv6 addresses. That's not very helpful. IP route, default route, so I can go ahead and pull that. So default route via 10.0.2.2, that's going to be through my VirtualBox, but if this was on a live machine, you'd be looking at your default gateway, essentially. So if I do a similar thing, IP route space, just the first one, head number of lines 1, and then I can awk print, that's the third column this time, right? Default via 10.0.0.3. Right, so now I have that. What if I now ping and again, I didn't use the -C space 4 for the count, so it would go forever unless you hit Control-C. So that is command chaining is how you can pull this together, right, to get exactly what you want. And then substitution is where you put it into a inline variable, or whatever that's called in shell scripting, to pass it to a command. These aren't the most dynamic things, but let's go ahead and take a look at, was it IP ARP? Or no, we'll just do ARP -A. I don't remember how to use ARP. It's not something I look at directly a lot. Verbose, numeric, use alternate BSD style, that's not what I want. Interface, device. Numerical addresses. Okay, so let's try VN. There we go. So now I have ARP entries, and this would be a little bit more dynamic. What if I go ahead and touch ARP scanner to create a new thing? And then what if I echo? Anytime you're using an apostrophe, you gotta use single quotes. Or sorry, anytime you're using an exclamation point, you gotta use single quotes. But we're just gonna do a baby script. We're not even gonna go into all the way into bash. And let's do ARP space -VN space awk. You gotta use double quotes. Print $1 for just our IPs, right? And then space. We could do some regular expression. I don't want to go that deep in this video though. Maybe we'll come back to that. So we're just gonna do is head number 2, tail number 1 into ARP scanner, right? And so what this is going to do is arpvn, which was our command we did here. And now it should print the first column, which was our address column, and then do the first 2 lines, which is address and this address, and then tail, the last one. Let's see if that works. It's bin bash, arp scanner. Okay, so my awk is not working correctly. Let's go ahead and take a look at that again. Let's run this as just a command instead of in our scanner to see what we get. So everything else looks like it worked right, except that awk print, which could be because of the switch up in quotes versus apostrophes or single and double quotes. So let's see if I replace that on here. And it does, right? So awk is very specific. You need your single quotes on there. So I should have flipped my apostrophes in my quotes or my single quotes in my double quotes. I'm going to VI into my ARP scanner. I for insert mode. And then let's just replace that. Escape, :WQ. Let's go ahead and bin bash that again. So that is now working. So now let's add another line. But this time, be very careful. You got to double caret so that you append instead of overwrite. And now let's go ahead and do nmap against that IP address. Actually, we should probably store that in a... Let's see if we can get a variable to work on that. I don't care about you, Adobe. This is going to make me go back to Linux just for having Windows as the host of this. It's so frustrating. All right. Let's say host equals and then nmap host. So that is another quick scanner, right? As a bit of a recap, all we did on that guy is we stored our command in a variable, and then we called that variable to our command, and it worked. Again, same results as last time. We will move into new territory of actually scanning a live thing, probably tomorrow if we have time, or we might dive deeper into basics.